When you're digging into history, you sometimes come across things you don't understand. It's a feeling everyone knows. And these mysteries can only be cracked with the invention of time travel. But it's impossible. And that's why there are still so many ancient artifacts left simply unexplained. So join us as we look at the 5 unexplained ancient artifacts that may hold lost knowledge. And trust me, once you see them, you won't look at history the same way again. The Dogon Star Knowledge. The mythology and folklore of indigenous peoples are often ignored as mere myths or legends passed down to honor elders and teach younger generations lessons about morality. However, some ancient stories seem to challenge modern science, and the Dogon legend is one of them. In the shadow of the Bandiagara cliffs of Mali, the Dogon people have preserved oral traditions for centuries. Stories that don't just echo belief, but describe astronomical details that modern science only recently confirmed. Beneath the vast West African sky, their lore describes Sirius, not just as a brilliant star, but as part of a complex system invisible to the human eye. According to their cosmology, Sirius has a dense, small companion star. Western astronomers didn't confirm the existence of Sirius B until 1970. The Dogon, however, have spoken of it, calling it Potolo, or smallest seed, for generations. So, where did this knowledge come from? Well, the Dogon say it was given to them by the Nomo. These were amphibious beings who descended from the sky in a basket-shaped vessel. These masters of water, part human and part serpent, taught the Dogon about celestial bodies and cosmic laws. Their appearance echoes ancient myths from Mesopotamia and other early civilizations. What's unsettling is how this legend mirrors hard astronomy. In the 1930s, French anthropologists Marcel Griol and Germaine Dieterlen spent 15 years living among the Dogon. During that time, the Dogon revealed that Sirius B moves in a precise 50-year elliptical orbit, information modern scientists verified only decades later. They also spoke of a third star, Sirius C, which remains unconfirmed but is still considered a possibility by some researchers. Carl Sagan and other skeptics argued that this knowledge could have come from French sources, perhaps passed to the Dogon by astronomers who visited during the 1893 solar eclipse. But that theory fails to account for the sheer depth and age of Dogon cosmology. Their traditions also include references to Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, and the spiral shape of the Milky Way, all recorded before any verified scientific contact. The Dogon believe their ancestors were visited by Nomo beings from the Sirius system. Some accounts say the Nomo were non-physical and appeared only to a select group, fearing full contact would harm them. Every 60 years, when Sirius rises between 2 mountain peaks, the Dogon hold a Sigwai ceremony to pass down sacred knowledge, often in secret dialects that outsiders can't interpret. The last Sigwai lasted 6 years. Now, what's even more curious is the similarity between the Dogon and other cultures. In Japan, the Dogu figurines, often likened to beings in spacesuits, are said to have brought civilization from the skies. In Mesopotamia, the fish god Dagon shares features with Nomo, and the Dogon language used to describe Sirius includes ancient Egyptian terms long out of use. Whether their knowledge comes from alien contact, ancient cultural exchange, or something else entirely, the Dogon challenge the idea that astronomy began with telescopes. Their stories hold data, not myth, and those stories refuse to fade. The Nebra Sky Disk. The Nebra Sky Disk, which has been called the oldest known depiction of astronomical wonder, is a very emotional object. Well, not because it looks unearthly, but because it sits at the heart of one of archaeology's fiercest debates. Just 12 inches across, this bronze disc glows with gold-inlaid arcs and circles, symbols that shimmer like constellations, yet offer no easy explanation. Some say it's humanity's first cosmic map. Others, a clever Iron Age forgery. It was pulled from the dirt in 1999 by black market looters digging around Middelburg Hill in Germany. Alongside it, bronze swords, axes, and spiral armlets, all promptly sold to an antiquities dealer. That careless excavation, scratched, dented, undocumented, sparked forensic chaos. But in 2002, a sting operation recovered the disc, leading archaeologists to the looters, and eventually, the original site. Carbon dating of a birch handle from one sword pointed to 1600 BCE. Soil samples suggested metals from the disc had leached into the earth. That, paired with the Bronze Age artifacts, led researchers like Harold Meller and Ernst Pernicka to place the disc squarely in the early Bronze Age, specifically the Unexplained culture. But not everyone's buying it. Rupert Gebhard and Rudiger Krauss argue the motifs and metalwork feel Iron Age, perhaps 1,000 years younger. They claim the entire hoard was staged to boost market value. Their theory is that this disc came from somewhere else and was buried with other older objects. That's why they're calling for a total site reassessment. The iconography is no less contested. 7 golden dots are widely believed to depict the Pleiades cluster. 2 arcs mark the sun's solstices, and a broad golden curve, possibly added later, has been called a solar bark, linking it to Egyptian religious symbols. If true, it shows how Mediterranean cosmology traveled far north. But critics reject the bark theory, arguing its form is too round, more moon than sun, more Iron Age than bronze. What's indisputable, this object wasn't tossed away. It was intentionally buried, possibly as a ritual deposit, like so many Bronze Age votive offerings. Whether as a religious relic, a calendrical tool, or both, the disc was designed to endure, physically and symbolically. To this day, its materials still speak. Pernicka's lab found that the gold traces matched soil samples at the burial site, reinforcing claims of authenticity. Yet opponents like Gebhard insist the chemistry proves nothing, only that more tests are needed. The disc now rests in the State Museum of Prehistory in Halle. It's more than an artifact. It's a cultural mirror, reflecting the hopes, knowledge, and divisions of those who study it. Some see cosmic science in its geometry, while others, a myth cast in gold. But no matter how it's seen, it remains a singular creation, both a relic and a riddle. And in a field where evidence rarely comes so dazzlingly packaged, that's reason enough for the arguments to keep going. The Paracas candelabra. The mysterious candelabra of the Andes could represent anything from a god's lightning bolt to a plant used in ancient rituals. Carved into the dry hillside of Peru's Paracas Peninsula at Pisco Bay, the enormous geoglyph stands nearly 600 feet tall and can be seen clearly from over 12 miles away, far out at sea. It's believed to have been created around 200 BC, possibly by the Paracas culture, but even that remains uncertain. No one knows exactly why it was made or what it was meant to represent. But it has lasted, cut 2 feet deep into the sand-covered rock, with carefully arranged stones lining its edges to prevent it from eroding under harsh desert wind. To some, the design resembles a candlestick. To others, it looks like a cactus. It starts as a single stem and splits into 3 arms, which then fork again, symmetrical, deliberate, and huge. Its purpose has sparked generations of speculation, from the serious to the surreal. When Spanish conquistadors first came across it, they reportedly took it as a religious symbol, interpreting it as a sign from God, possibly the Holy Trinity, urging them forward in their conquest. Later explorers and fringe theorists saw it differently. Some proposed it was a landing beacon for ancient aliens. Others suggested it was a marker left by prehistoric seafarers. The fact that it's visible from miles off the coast supports the idea that it may have helped sailors navigate treacherous Pacific waters. One of the most surprising theories came from Peruvian thinkers who believed it might have served a scientific function, as an ancient seismograph. They proposed that its precise structure could have recorded seismic vibrations from across vast distances, not just locally, but globally. The idea sounds wild, but it reflects how far scholars have stretched to explain something so visually commanding yet completely ambiguous. Other interpretations lean on plant symbolism. Some believe the candelabra depicts Jimson weed, a powerful hallucinogen used in ancient ceremonies. According to this theory, Paracas traders who traveled north to gather the plant may have carved the geoglyph as a guidepost to help them return home while under its influence. There's also a strong link to Viracocha, the pre-Inca creator deity associated with storms, light, and the origins of the cosmos. Some locals say the candelabra was made in his honor, as a beacon to summon his return in times of need. The symmetry of the design and its elevated placement make that theory feel less like a myth and more like an intention. Archaeological digs in the area uncovered pottery, suggesting the region was once home to a thriving sea-dependent civilization. Though the creators of the geoglyph remain unnamed, the culture clearly had the skill, time, and vision to carve something monumental. Its similarity to the inland Nazca lines has led to theories of a shared cultural or spiritual origin. Both sites display a level of planning and precision rarely seen in ancient earthworks. And yet, no theory has stuck. It remains what it has always been: big and unsolved. The Golden Hats. The Golden Hats, 4 luminous relics from the Bronze Age, hold their secrets tight. Found in scattered fields and quiet forests across Germany and France, these conical masterpieces have puzzled archaeologists for nearly 2 centuries. They rise like gilded towers from a forgotten past, straddling the space between the scientific and the sacred. Who once wore them? What role did they play? And why were they hidden, as if to protect their mystery from the world? The first was found in 1835 by a farmer near Schifferstadt. It was unlike anything seen before. A tall cone made of thin, hammered gold, resting upright in a pit, surrounded by bronze axe heads, arranged with care, almost ceremonial in placement. Over the years, more began to surface. Another emerged in France, and then taller, even more elaborate examples appeared in Germany. One was found near Ezzelsdorf Buch, its towering structure standing nearly 3 feet tall. Another, now known as the Berlin Gold Hat, appeared through the antiquities trade under less than transparent circumstances, its origins clouded by time and market dealings. Each hat ranges between 30 and 88 centimeters in height and is adorned with dense, repeating patterns, rings, circles, rosettes, and solar motifs. At first glance, they appear decorative, even ornamental. But look closer, and the arrangement of these symbols starts to suggest something far more deliberate, almost like coded information etched in gold. The craftsmanship behind them is extraordinary. Ancient metalworkers hammered gold into foil so thin it could crack from the slightest mistake, then shaped and patterned it with meticulous care. Their skills weren't just advanced, they were precise, almost modern in execution. Recent research proposes that these symbols might form a lunisolar calendar, a system capable of tracking both the solar year and lunar months with staggering accuracy. At a time when survival depended on knowing when to plant, harvest, and honor the gods, such knowledge wasn't just useful, it was powerful. Those who wore or used these hats, if they were ever worn, likely held immense influence. Some believe they were priest kings or astronomer priests, figures who interpreted the sky and guided society through its rhythms. With the golden hat gleaming in the sun, a ritual leader could stand before a community and mark the solstice, announce the harvest, or declare a sacred rite. And yet, the hats pose more questions than they answer. Why were they buried in remote, isolated places? Were they ritual offerings, tributes to celestial deities, or repositories of encoded wisdom meant to be hidden from misuse? Ashes found inside some of the hats hint at funerary rites, but their mathematical precision suggests something more functional, perhaps both spiritual and scientific. Maybe their purpose lies in the space between, ceremonial objects that also calculated the heavens. For now, Their meaning stays sealed beneath their golden surfaces. Until we can read the language they were written in, the golden hats remain what they've always been: mysterious, radiant, and deeply silent, just like other ancient mysteries. The Cockno Stone. On the outskirts of Clydebank, Scotland, there's a carved slab so old and strange that even after 5 millennia, no one knows quite what to make of it. Known as the Cockno Stone, this 42-ton stretch of sandstone is etched with a network of spirals, circles, and grooves, some shallow, others deeply cut, sprawling across its entire surface like a prehistoric code. The markings fall under what's called cup and ring carvings, and they've sparked speculation for over a century. Some believe they chart constellations, others see astronomical calendars, land maps, or records of rituals we no longer understand. For nearly 50 years, the stone was completely buried, not by time, but deliberately, to shield it from damage and graffiti. It was only unearthed recently for study, before being reburied again. Back in 1887, a local minister took note of the site, and over time, it gained a reputation as one of Europe's most detailed and mysterious rock art panels. Set in what's now an urban housing area, its carvings may date as far back as 3000 BCE. Interest surged in the 1930s when an archaeologist named Ludovic Mann claimed the symbols were astronomical in nature, used to track solar events or even eclipses. To prove his theory, he painted bold colored lines and grids directly over the carvings. Today, that move is considered invasive, but at the time, it was part of an earnest attempt to unlock its meaning. In 2015, researchers from the University of Glasgow reopened the site. Using 3D scans and aerial mapping, they recorded the carvings in high resolution. Over 90 motifs were documented, alongside oddities like a four-toed footprint and angular geometric shapes. The precision of some of the grooves suggests methods of carving that don't quite match the tools we expect from that era. Some believe the patterns represent early knowledge of astronomy or geometry. Others think the stone is a kind of communal memory, mapping out land, trade routes, or sacred spaces. But no interpretation has stuck. Whatever its original purpose, the Cockno Stone remains unsolved. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome content like this. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you in the next one.